Okay, Cole Clark, three-way pickup. Just to review, I'm not going to review the guitar. I just want to talk about the pickup and why I got it, and what's good about it and what needs a bit of work on it. So I will mute the mic that I'm talking into every time we do anything detailed. But let's just start it off. That's the two-way. If we bring in the mic, that's the three-way. You can't really hear a lot of difference unless you do some tweaking. So just on the pickup, on the preamp on the guitar, I'm going to cut the bass completely out. I'm going to pull the mids a tiny bit out, and I'm going to chuck the treble way up. And I've got the it mostly on the face side, just backed off a little bit towards the bridge. I'm sure if you're watching this, you're aware of the basics, that it has 3 different parts. Okay, so that's the sound there. Starts to sound a little bit better, and you do hear the, I'll back off the mic. You get that quack, the typical quack. You put the mic in, and it kind of pretty much goes away, but also you lose a fair bit of volume in those frequencies, which is one of my main problems with the pickup. So if you look on the screen now, here is the EQ response of it. So there's a lot of lows still in there. If I put the bass all the way up, there's a huge response underneath 100, which is just stupid and ridiculous. You pull it all the way out, and it's still there. It just doesn't really make sense why you would pick the shelf there and not have a little bit more attenuation in that range. Anyway, let's see. Here's the mids all the way up. So that's a little bit more typical. Pull them all the way down. You get that scoop sound. So put a little bit back in. So I'm just off the detent at half. And here's the trebles all the way up. Well, here's them all the way off. Okay. So that's kind of my basic setup, which I would use live. I've got the mic all the way up, mostly on the face pickup, the volume just over half. Anything higher than that, you'll swiftly get feedback. So let's look at what you could do to EQ it a little bit better. So first, let's put a really big low shelf cutoff. And you just hear a lot more detail from the guitar when you get rid of that kind of pointless below 100 subs, which, you know, even bass guitar doesn't really need them unless you're doing, you know, dub or something. And then we'll put in tiny little low mid scoop. And here is where the pickup, sorry, the mic does pick up. It only picks up in the very high frequencies. You can really hear the microphonic response when you boost those frequencies. So I'll turn it off. And you really get the quacky, kind of plasticky sound of the under saddle, and then so yeah, it's one of the disappointments is that the saddle has so much more treble frequency response than the condenser microphone inside the guitar does, that when you introduce the mic, you kind of lose the frequency, and you really have to push the treble. I mean, that's a very aggressive kind of boost. Bring it down. But yeah, so let's just add a tiny little bit more treble. Well, tiny bit, a massive amount. There's not a lot going on in that frequency range anyway. So it just adds a little bit of detail. And then finally, bring a bit of the bass back in. But just in the spot where you actually want it, not kind of this enormous honky woof. Alright, so that's it. Chuck a little reverb on just to make it sound a bit more real. And that's a pretty half decent recorded sound. You wouldn't be that unhappy with that through a microphone. And it would be nice if you could pull that off live. I imagine that they've kind of fixed the... When you adjust the treble, it doesn't capture much of... On the onboard treble, it doesn't capture much of what is being picked up by that mic. It picks up stuff a lot higher than it. That's it off. That's it on, all the way up. All the treble, all the way up. So it really needs a lot of boosting before the mic really does anything to the sound. Otherwise, it's basically just attenuating some horrible trebles from the piezo under the saddle. Yeah, which is a bit disappointing that the onboard EQ doesn't give you much control. I mean, well, sorry, it doesn't give you the kind of control you would need to make much use of that condenser mic. So yeah, I will probably be looking into a graphic pedal or just hopefully something very small that isn't gonna need a battery, or that isn't gonna need a power supply. Yeah, so that's the review of it. Strengths and weaknesses. It is very nice having that mic in. I think you can tell the difference. Here's it off again. That is that sound you've heard, you know, off stage of a million gigs, and that's the sound a little bit more like your guitar. And just to prove it's microphonic, I will talk directly into it. I'll take the treble completely out. I will talk directly into it. You really don't pick it up unless you've really got the treble all the way up. Alright, cheers. Hope that was helpful for any Cole Clark buyers.